Indiana Fever front office cannot catch a break. The Fever have done it again. And if you guys don't know, they've done the survey. The Indiana Fever have done it again. And this time, fans are furious. The Indiana Fever front office is in serious trouble, man. Yet again, a new survey sent out by the front office has raised serious questions about whether they're trying to push Caitlin Clark to the side. There is only one truth. And the truth of the matter is that Caitlin Clark is this phenomenon that changed the entire landscape, even after everything she's done for the franchise. Before we dive into this shocking story, drop a comment 100% if you stand with Caitlin Clark. Survey was basically the Indiana Fever sent it out to fans, and they asked them a whole bunch of questions. And it was all about, would you be fans of the team? And what happens if we did this? Why would you stop being fans of the Fever? And why did you become fans of Fever? But a lot of questions were, why did you become fans of the Fever? Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever front office, has managed to create another storm, and it all comes down to their fan survey. On the surface, it looked like a harmless marketing questionnaire. When you think of the WNBA, who are the first 3 players that come to mind? Caitlin Clark, Paige Becker's injuries. You mentioned you have at least heard the names of the following WNBA players. Which WNBA team does each player belong to? If you don't know the answer, click I don't know. What is going on? But once fans dug in, the questions raised eyebrows and left people furious. Instead of highlighting Caitlin Clark, see, when they start doing stuff like this, they're up to something. They're up to something, bro. I ain't lying. The front office is up to something. And now y'all going to have people looking at y'all funny again, bro. It is what it is. Y'all going to have people looking at y'all funny again. While the survey already had fans questioning the Fever's loyalty to Caitlin Clark, things look even worse once you zoom out at how the front office is actually operating. Say Fever Basketball LLC. Y'all see, this is the Fever right here. I kind of highlighted that for you. That is the Fever. How come I'm not saying no scouts, bro? We're the scouting department. Do they even have a scouting department? Behind the scenes, this organization is showing signs of complete disarray. For starters, despite making millions off Caitlin's jersey sales, sold-out games, and national attention, reports revealed the Fever don't even have a proper scouting department. It seems as if the overseas scouting department, some YouTube highlights, some clips, and a couple phone calls with a person on the other end saying, "Trust me, bro. Trust me." Instead of investing in professionals to build the strongest roster possible around Caitlin, they're relying on YouTube clips, phone calls, and assistant coaches' personal contacts to evaluate players overseas. That's not how a professional franchise should be run. They're the one that unveiled a $78 million practice facility. I didn't know about it. They told me they're the one that came out with the Now You Know camp. It's them. So God forbid some fans are like, wait, you guys told us this, and then you're operating like you just started business yesterday. It gets worse. The team publicly brands itself as the Apple of the WNBA, even showing off a brand new $78 million practice facility. And I think the way she plays and the way she's entertained brought so many guys over, whether they were men's college basketball fans or NBA fans or whatever the case, which is something that the WNBA and a lot of women's sports hadn't done before. And I think that's an under-discussed aspect of why Caitlin Clark is so popular. But when it comes to actually doing the work to support Caitlin Clark and maximize her championship window, they're running things like a small business scrambling to keep the lights on. I think it's important for people to hear your background and context for people who don't know, and that's on the women's sports side of things. But then there's another aspect that you touch on in the book and that I think has not been discussed as much as to the explosion of Caitlin Clark's popularity. And that's dudes. You know, Caitlin Clark, everybody goes like white and straight and all these other carnival barker talking points, but I've always thought her popularity and with anything there's a pie. Fans see the hypocrisy clearly. The Fever are more than happy to cash in on Caitlin's star power, but the way they're operating shows they aren't truly committed to building around her. And now with surveys that downplay her role in a front office that seems unprepared for the big stage last year, in their defense, last year, a load of questions were about Caitlin Clark being like, did Caitlin Clark bring you in, essentially? Would you stay if Caitlin's gone? All this stuff. Now it's like, what is the other reason? 97% is other. Caitlin Clark got drafted by the Indiana Fever. Many believe the Fever are wasting a once-in-a-generation opportunity. The message from fans is simple. Caitlyn deserves a serious franchise. If the Fever can't step up, they don't deserve her. The backlash to this survey was instant. They're not wrong. At this point in time, AJ Wilson's got to as good as Age has been a few games, AJ has got to go get it back. Fever fans didn't just shrug it off, they pushed back hard. Why? Because they know exactly why the stands are packed, why jerseys are flying off the shelves, and why national TV ratings skyrocket whenever the Fever play. It's all because of Caitlyn Clark. A lot of these people that be naming these player, they've been watching this lame-ass league, bro. Ain't nobody been looking at this league, bro. I'ma be honest, bro. Fans called out the front office for pretending otherwise. One message kept coming up again and again and again. If Caitlyn leaves, I leave. Wherever Caitlyn goes, I go. That isn't just a statement, it's a warning. Once you go up to 97 like Caitlyn Clark was to end last season, it's hard to go down. It's hard to go down. But, yeah, it is a funny one. Everything is complaining about Caitlyn Clark's rating win. The Fever's rise from near irrelevance to must-watch basketball was fueled by one player, and the fan base is loyal to her, not to the management trying to downplay her importance. They averaged 3,000 seats to 3,000 fans to 16,000 and selling out every game last year. The numbers don't lie. Before Caitlyn, Indiana Fever games barely drew 3,000 fans. With her on the roster, they've turned into one of the hottest tickets in sports, pulling 16,000 plus crowds and selling out arenas across the country. Caitlyn Clark is this phenomenon that changed the entire landscape. Sort of the sun that the WNBA has now orbited around as a solar system. The Fever went from being a forgotten team to the face of the WNBA overnight. And it wasn't because of some marketing survey or clever branding. It was the Caitlyn Clark effect, plain and simple. When you think of WNBA, who are the first three players to come to your mind? There's no three, there's just one. Caitlyn, Caitlyn, Caitlyn. Bro. What? I don't know, bro. Yet, the survey never mentioned her directly. Instead, it asked fans which three players came to mind when they thought of the WNBA. But most supporters had the same answer. Caitlyn, Caitlyn, Caitlyn. No other name sparks that level of passion, attention, and cultural impact. Why would you not be happy to have those people watching your sport? We've seen the numbers of the All-Star voting, right? A'ja Wilson, well under 100,000 2 years ago. Now, Caitlyn Clark is getting all the votes, of course, and she's getting in with, Leah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell and others. Fans saw this as more than a mistake. It felt like an insult. By leaving Caitlyn's name out, the Fever front office wasn't just ignoring the obvious. They were sending the message that they could build this brand without her, but the fans aren't buying it. They've made it clear Indiana Fever equals Caitlyn Clark. Without her, there is no show. Y'all want more money. Y'all want more money. So it looked like this is a WNBA thing. This is a whole league thing. Now, that leads us into our next story. The very reason the Fever went from averaging 3,000 fans a night to over 16,000 sold-out arenas. The survey strangely avoided using her name directly. Fans were asked things like, why did you become a Fever fan? And what would make you stop being a fan? What was the origin of your fandom for the Fever? Just like 97% of Indiana Fever fans, Caitlyn Clark Dwayne's team, they average 3,000 seats to 3,000 fans to 16,000 selling out every game. The overwhelming truth is simple. Almost 97% of Fever fans are here because of Caitlyn Clark. Yet the survey seemed to dance around that fact. Even more confusing, the survey asked about other WNBA teams like the Liberty, Aces, and Storm. It said the Fever are sending fans surveys for marketing research again. Meanwhile, they have Stephanie White and Brianna January in a dark closet with 3G Wi-Fi YouTube with ads for scouting, as if the Fever wanted to redirect attention away from their own superstar. At one point, fans were even quizzed about knowing lacrosse teams, which left many wondering if the front office was even serious. The most insulting part, the section asking fans what the origin of their Fever fandom was. People could say, look at all these fans. Walk down the aisle of the pool on the terrace. Next stare across the street, locations and escalators will remain in operation during the evacuation. Now, one of the coolest things I can say, I had the pleasure of viewing this live in Iowa. That is the Kayla Clark effect. The options included things like I saw them on TV, I read news articles, or they are my local team. But glaringly absent was the obvious choice, Caitlin Clark. It was almost as if the survey wanted to erase her from the equation. Say, Fever Basketball LLC. Y'all see, this is the Fever right here. I kind of highlighted that for you. That is the Fever. How come I'm not saying no scouts, bro? Where the scouting department? Do they even have a scouting department? Despite the fact that without Caitlin, none of these record-breaking crowds or massive merchandise sales would even exist. This wasn't just a poorly written questionnaire. It came across as the Fever trying to prove that the franchise could stand on its own without Caitlin. And for the fans who know the truth, that felt like a direct slap in the face. I think it's important for people to hear your background and context for people who don't know, and that's on the women's sports side of things. But then there's another aspect that you touch on in the book and that I think has not been discussed as much as to the explosion of Caitlin Clark's popularity. And that's dudes. You know, Caitlin Clark, if everybody goes like white and straight, and all these other carnival barker talking points, but I've always thought her popularity, and with anything there's a pie. At the end of the day, this fan survey only confirmed what so many already feared. The Indiana Fever front office is trying to prove they can stand without Caitlin Clark, but the reality is undeniable. She is the reason this team sells out arenas, breaks viewership records, and even stays relevant in national conversations. Without Caitlin, the Fever risks sliding right back into obscurity. With her, they have the brightest future the franchise has ever seen. The question now is whether the front office will finally respect that and build around her, or continue to take her for granted. What do you think? Should Caitlin Clark demand better from this franchise? Let me know your thoughts below, and don't forget to drop a 100% if you stand with Caitlin.